Good evening, 4-3. Next lesson tonight would be on 13-8, comparing and ordering decimals. How do you compare decimals? Well, let's look at these three decimals right here. We have 11 hundredths, 9 tenths, and 10 hundredths, or we could say 1/10. We need to put these in order. We're going to put them from least to greatest. And how I do this is I would like to compare each place. We check out the wholes, the tenths, the hundredths. Looking at these, there are no whole numbers, so we're not going to start there. We're going to go to the next one. We're going to start in the tenths place. And just by looking at the tenths place, we see the least value of the decimal is 0 and 9 hundredths. That guy is the smallest one, so we can cross him out. The next one on the list would be 11 hundredths and 10 hundredths. If we go to the hundredths place, this one has a 1 and this one has a 0. We know that 0 is less than 1, so this one comes next, 0 and 10 hundredths. And then the one that's left over is 0 and 11 hundredths. Let's look at the next example. This one says 0 and 7 tenths is greater than, less than, or equal to 0 and 57 hundredths. Well, first we look at to see if they have a whole number. There is no whole number. So we go to the tenths place. And this one has a 7, and this one has a 5. Automatically, this one is the greatest because it has a higher number of 7 than this one of 5. So this one is greater. So 7 tenths is greater than 57 hundredths. The next one's a little tricky. If we look, we automatically look to see if there's a whole number. There are no whole numbers. So we move on to the tenths. But notice, in the tenths place, they both have 2s. Then if we move on to the hundredths, this one doesn't have any hundredths. This one does. It has a 0. But the zeros and decimals kind of just fall off. They just kind of roll away. If the last number has a 0 in it, it just doesn't mean anything. It just kind of goes away. So this happens to be equal because this is 2 tenths and this is 20 hundredths. And if we divide the top and the bottom by 10, it automatically becomes 2 tenths. So 2 tenths is equal to 20 hundredths. All right, here's another one. 1 and 1/10 is greater than, less than, or equal to 1 and 10 hundredths. So we both look at we look at both of the ones, and they're exactly the same. Then we go into the tenths. Notice it's exactly the same. The only thing that's different is this one has a 0 and this one doesn't. But they still are equal because this becomes 1 and 1/10. That's that mixed number that represents this decimal. And then this one is 10 and 10 hundredths. But if we simplify this by 10, we end up getting 1 and 1/10. It's the same. Just remember, those zeros at the end, you could always divide it by 10, and they will just kind of go away. The next example are 3 decimals, and we automatically are going to look at the whole number. This one has a 0, this one has a 0, and this one has a 1. So automatically, this one is going to be our greatest. Okay, so let's see what else is going to happen here. We're going to go to the tenths. And we see that this one has a 7, and this one has a 0. So automatically, this one is our least. So 0 and 7/100 is the smallest. Then comes 0 and 71/100, and the greatest is 1 and 7/10. All right, 4-3, let's see how much you've learned. Please put these 3 decimals from least to greatest. Okay, here's your next one. 1/100 is greater than or less than or equal to 1/10. Try this next example. 2 and 1/10 is greater than or equal to or less than 2 and 10/100. Excellent work tonight, guys. Let's keep up the great work. You guys truly rock.